Successful people who got crappy grades in high school or college, what are you doing now and how did, or didn't, your grades affect your success career? I did really badly in school. I hated it because I struggled with maths and with writing. I had good ideas but couldn't seem to get them onto the paper. I left school and worked in a shop, then I joined an acting class and eventually got into drama school in London. Learned to touch type as a way of writing comedy sketches. Did well. Now I'm a professional writer. Turns out I have dysgraphia and dyscalculia. Took me 15 years to work that out. It's funny that our school systems are designed to weed out those with disorders rather than to use their grades to identify potential problems and then help those students solve those problems through professional help. Dropped out of high school. Got my GED. Tried college but realized it just wasn't for me. I joined the US Army and while I was enlisted I realized that I'm just going to have to figure my own way because I can't stand school. So I made my own way. Learned to code 25 years ago and have done very well for myself. My brother has a similar story but he didn't even bother trying college. He's followed his dreams and made successful careers out of his hobbies. Just because school doesn't work out for you, don't think less of yourself and don't underestimate your value. My teachers told me I'd never get paid to sit there and stare out a window. I'm one of the top respected truck drivers at work and people often come to me for advice and help. Whether it be laws, permits, how to do something, or practical help on chaining or tying shit down. Got tired of high school. So I quit and did different jobs. In my mid-20s I started doing web design courses and found out I really loved it. Used all my savings and got some help from my mom to put life on hold for a few years and went to finish my high school degree. Start college and get my degree to become a web designer. At 29 I got a permanent job at the place I interned and get to do design work and front-end development in a small web agency and I love it. Edit. Thank you all for all the feedback comments. Comma and the bloody silver. WTHXD, keep the questions coming. If I can help I will. I got fairly bad grades in high school. My guidance counselor told me to join the army and be an infantry soldier because I'd never go to university, college or be successful. I ended up getting a BA and now I'm an ESL teacher. Currently looking at options to get fully certified and step up the teaching game. Did very well in high school but sucked pretty hard in college. My HS grades got me a military scholarship that had very forgiving standards to keep. Today I'm an airline captain and a military pilot with a 2 something college GPA. I just can't math that good. I was a terrible student in high school. Bottom percentage of my class. Had to take a summer class after graduation because I didn't pass economics. They let me walk but I didn't get my diploma until like August. I watched all my friends go off to colleges while I went to community college after getting rejected from a few schools I applied to. Eventually went to a 4-year college and graduated in 2 years with okay grades. Not great. I was an art major so my grades depended mostly on meeting deadlines and quality of the work. Forward 10 years. I went back for certificate degree then started to work in my field, design. Now I'm working for a multinational corporation and making 6 figures. So being a crappy student hindered my ability to stay on a timeline along with my peers. But didn't prevent me from a successful life as a working adult. I was a gifted kid in high school. Slept through classes and got a 3.96. Struggled in college due to lack of study skills. Barely graduated. First job was incredibly hard to get. With no experience they look at GPA. If you are under a 3.5 or even a 3 don't even apply. After getting work history it no longer mattered. High school was all about homework. Like I had a lot of classes that 80% of your grade came from homework. And I am not a fan of busy work. If you teach it to me in class and I can repeat it back in class work. I do not need more to take home. But in college it's almost reverse where most of your grade comes from test scores. Thankfully I don't have test anxiety so I tend to do fairly well on tests. Got my LPN and will have graduated the RN program by Christmas. I was a BC student in high school and most of college. I have since taught math, chemistry, physics, biology. I like learning and teaching, but not schools. I was a mess up in HS, summer school every summer. Barely graduated. Not even a C average. Took a crack at the state U. Got put out in short order. Got fired from a string of jobs because I was 19 and I had a lot of attitude. Got a job in a factory building machinery. Had to go in the army. Drank. Worked as bartender and bouncer. Finally graduated the state U at 36. Started law school at 50. Downtown office now. Life is far from perfect, but it's vastly better than it was in my youth. Don't give up on yourself. Don't sell yourself short. Don't buy into negativity. You are not struggling, you are on a journey. Asterisk. Borderline failing grades in high school, JD. MBA licensed attorney in 2 states and working in risk management for one of the largest financial institutions in the world. After borderline failing high school, I joined the army and got my proverbial shit together. Put that discipline to work in college, law school and business school. I believe that the army experience opened a ton of doors for me, and that the discipline made a huge difference in my trajectory. That said, my problem in high school was discipline, not capacity. I always tested very well, just didn't do any homework. I think most people would say I'm fairly successful in that I have a prestigious job as an executive and have had nice upward trajectory professionally throughout my career. I didn't do terribly in school, but I was like a C+ student overall. I definitely missed out on some opportunities due to poor grades, which was entirely my fault due to lack of studying. And I could have had a richer and more meaningful educational experience if I'd worked harder. But the truth is that I have a lot of unfair advantages in life and it hasn't mattered all that much in terms of material well-being. Being a smartish white man in the US just makes things so much easier. My privilege made it easy to slack off and not worry too much about whether I'd be okay. I wasn't raised rich or anything, so I couldn't fail out of school. But I kind of only had to do the minimum to pass and things would work out. It has taken me a while to realize how impactful those external factors of my own privileges have been. And it isn't pleasant to realize, but that's the truth. I was a poorish student. C's mostly. A few F's. A couple A's, but was simply disinterested. Not challenged, no one gave a crap. I skipped a lot of classes. And frowned till I quit high school mid-junior year. Got a get and joined the Air Force. After, I did a tech school. Graduated in the upper 1/4 of the class. Caught a few college courses along the way but never got a degree. Long story short, I worked in hands-on technologies jobs. Customer facing for the most part. Ending my career as an engineering technician working in an R&D test lab. Retired early. Now own my home with no mortgage. And in all did alright. I got lucky. And could not do as well today with the emphasis on having a degree in the last 20 years. I didn't do well in high school. I ditched most of my senior year. After graduating I got a job as a server in a restaurant and went to my local community college. I did well there and transferred to a good university. I now make around $200k. My high school grades didn't affect my entrance into college at all. When you go to community college, you get a fresh start. There's a ton of opportunity if you want it. It also didn't affect my job search. Employers didn't care that I had community college and a university on my resume. I could even leave off the community college if I wanted. I don't. I like having it on there because I have a B.S. and an AA. I'm 28. Opposite for me. I got good grades in college and it didn't matter. I have a pointless job pushing papers with zero respect in soulless corporate America. I got fairly mediocre grades at GCSE. Only did 1 year of 6th form. Failed every subject, so I didn't go back after my careers advisor told me it was pointless me trying to achieve anything. I'm now lead developer for a popular web app used by 6 meters people a day. Well, my state has something called No Child Left Behind, so I still somehow graduated. Only really paying attention in freshman year and senior year. Failed algebra twice. Passed it along with all my classes in senior year. Early senior year my mother passed away. Somehow still pushed through school after that. I currently am trying to figure out what to do with my life. Been thinking of enlisting into the military. Constant daydreamer here. Grades were real bad. Was told I would amount to very little. That changed. As I grew older I came to know myself and my strengths. I use these strengths to get to where I am. I can't give you the details of where I work as it is for the government and is classified. Always fun to say, but if you ever found out you'd be curious as to why that of all things is classified. Lol. After school. Existence was bleak and hopeless. Min-wage jobs crushing the soul with extended hours to make ends meet. I say that. But ends weren't being met. It wasn't until I was 29 that I had a very good shot at something. I was denied multiple times. But I wasn't letting it go because I knew the position was meant for me. I got in and life changed. I do a demanding, stressful and underpaid IT job. Better grades and focusing on interests. Future. Long-term planning would have opened more doors for me. A lot of people here are saying grades don't matter that much. But think of how much easier it would have been if they tried. There are really smart people here who said they got lucky when a friend referred them or they somehow landed a job. I feel like they wouldn't have to rely on luck if they had the grades beforehand. I got above average grades in both high school and college. But not stellar. I applied to medical school and was basically laughed at. I went to graduate school and my GPA was almost a full point above my undergrad grades. When averaged across my entire college education, my GPA was still only slightly above average. Fortunately, I was able to convince the admissions committee to look at my grad school GPA versus undergrad GPA. That got me into medical school. Your school grades don't matter at all, as long as you pass the class. School is meant to teach you social skills and how to be a better critical thinker. No one really gives a shit if you couldn't interpret Shakespeare properly. I'd go as far as to say most of the time they don't matter. But even that's stretching it. They obviously do matter if you want to go to graduate school. Although it is possible to get into graduate school even with a 2.0 and multiple Fs. Even in your major classes. But it's just way more difficult. And good luck becoming a doctor, engineer, dentist, nurse, etc. If all you get is C's and D's F's, you'll get kicked out eventually. I joined the military so I could afford to go to college. After separating I began studying fire science in hopes of becoming a firefighter. It's not a high paying job but it's the best decision I've ever made. I wanted this career so bad I made nearly straight A's in college. Got hired in person by the fire chief in person. I failed out of a couple grades by middle school. I couldn't focus for jack shit. My body constantly felt off and no one would listen to me. I was in daily discomfort and pain and it was insanely distracting. I gave up at some point and just ignored schoolwork and drowned myself in books. The one thing that kept my attention for the most part. I did manage to graduate. Barely. I later learned I partially struggled to focus because of undiagnosed CPTSD and untreated ADHD. And it spiraled me. On top of that, I have a couple chronic illnesses that just jacked me up and was the source of the distracting discomfort. Once I got a handle on the physical, I'm now getting a handle on the CPTSD. I have a couple nice bragging points. I'm a self-published author, professional artist, award-winning poet. And my proudest accomplishment is being fiancé to the best guy in the world. My sweet fiancé checks in on me daily to make sure I'm not in any discomfort. And listens to me talk things out aloud. Which really helps me focus my brain. I'm not really what many people would think of as successful given that I'm basically a house spouse. But I consider myself a great success for picking myself up and asking for the help I needed. Work in IT and my grades didn't affect me at all. I think I had a 2.44 GPA. I was burned out on school and ready to live life. College classes were torture because I didn't want to be there. But I had to get a degree to get a good job. Almost didn't pass high school. Got provisionally accepted into college and had to take remedial classes my first year. I'm 23, and now have a house and a stable job and now engaged. I generally had good grades. But if I didn't respect a teacher, I was a horrible kid. I tanked. Deliberately. And in my sad adolescent rage. In my mind. Called attention to a teacher's shortcomings. As an adult, I'd have smacked some sense into myself. But you do have to make your own mistakes. Didn't affect me in the long run. Well, I'm not successful in professional terms. But I'm happily studying in a great university in a great course. So I'm happy with myself and at least on a good path to a successful career. But that's because my country has a system which I think is a lot better to get into universities. You just take a test. If you get in the top whatever number you are in, a bit oversimplified. There are spots for people with low income. And racial groups too. If not, try again next year. So if you weren't a good student when you were f***ing 16, it will not hinder your life for a long time. You can just study for a bit and you're good. Also, there's not this culture or whatever that everyone starts at 17 for college. There are people of all ages. Also, it's free, so there's that haha. So yeah, I kinda sidetracked, but I was a lazy, shitty student throughout all of high school. After some years I matured a bit. Decided what I wanted. Studied for like 3 months and boom. Thankfully we don't take into account grades from teenagers to decide their whole future. I did 5 years of high school. Worked at a pizza joint for 5, then joined the army. Was a nuke med tech in the army. Got out 18 years ago. Currently a chief tech at a large medical facility. Wife got her head and currently manages a construction company. We do okay now. About 165k a year. I didn't apply myself in school and came out with a fairly mixed bag of grades. In college, I completely didn't apply myself and came out with CCCCD. I went to a university and hated it, so I dropped out and worked for a while in a hotel. It was hideous and they treated us like dirt. So I went back to college to do another course in law, which I got a B in. I went back to university and got a first, 4.0 GPA, with honors. I found a job pretty much immediately after I finished my last exam, rather. That job found me. I've been working in London for 2.5 years and now earn cute 36k a year plus 10% bonus, so around cute 40k. I am only 26. I still haven't qualified as a solicitor yet. But that's next on my list as I am due to finish my final year, 6th, of legal education. I rent my own place. Have cleared all my credit card debts. And generally live comfortably. The best part is, I never have to apply for an entry-level job ever again. And my salary is only ever going to go up. I anticipate I will be on cute 50k by the end of next year. Goal is to be on 70k before I turn 30. I was a CD student in Essentials class, which is below standards before the school eliminated them. Graduated 168 of 220. I flunked community college twice and got lost. Eventually found photography through an ex. Never did classes for it. Sell my prints here and there and make some money doing that. Figured I wanted more money off the sales instead of off sellers like Redbubble and Etsy, so I started my own store. I also now do visual arts as well with maps and make posters, prints, decals, t-shirts and all that. Now starting to sell my product in stores. I use the Tom Brady method of 199 with 198 people better than me. Well, I use 167 and try to prove the school wrong that I would be a lifetime retail worker. I had mediocre high school grades. Squeaked into state school for college. Studied stuff I was interested in and my grades improved drastically. I'm in consulting now and make good money. If I had done better in HS I could have gone to a better college. It would have made networking easier. I had to put in a lot of extra effort in college to make up for slacking off in HS. I'll caution. If your poor grades are the result of being dumb or lazy, it's not going to magically get better after graduating. You could be a genius, but if on paper you look like a turd, no one is going to hire you. I got crappy grades in my first degree, computing, and nobody wanted me. Then did another degree, engineering, and did extremely well. It makes a big difference employment-wise. Good grades sell themselves. Went to community college for a year. Transferred to a 4-year college and studied business. Even my college grades weren't great. I just busted my ass and job hopped my first 2 years or so until I was at a good company that paid well. Now I work for a large international company putting together marketing traditions. I've been there for a few years now. I got tired of the corporate thing, so I'm getting my master's in teaching. This is what I wanted to do from the beginning. Grad programs involve a lot more research and writing, so I'm doing much better grade-wise. I found out I'm just not a good test taker, which is why I got by with a C average. The bottom line is this. Bust your ass in the workplace. Make connections. You get jobs through who you know. It's an uphill battle. But mediocre grades doesn't mean you can't live a comfortable life. Having good grades will definitely open up your options though. I'm retired. I barely tried at high school because I felt they made it so people like me are unsuccessful. I had a 3.8 GPA in college, but dropped out after 3 years due to family issues. Despite all that, my grades never affected my abilities nor my accession in the ranks in the semiconductor field. All these comments seem to have a theme. Not doing well in school and deciding school is not the way is perfectly fine. Better to know yourself than to pretend. But not doing well in school due to lack of motivation, desire to grow as a person, and poor work ethic to make something of yourself is not fine. I was a solid B student in high school, and although I've done okay for myself, I just feel there is a lack of hustle that I need to work on. I need to always be improving and be aware of what's out there is something I need to work on. Well, this might not apply to me, but I think it stands out to the importance of good grades in some situations. I got great grades in high school and I think that is important to get into college. Once there, I got really bad grades but retook classes and got my act together by senior year to get good grades again. The thing that really upsets me is that I was told not to put my GPA on my resume, and so getting good grades didn't even matter. I got the first job I applied for. But if I wanted to go to a grad school, then I think the grades would have mattered. I'm almost 23 and just planning to go to college next fall. Kinda feel like that now. Throughout my life I was told I won't be successful until I go to school, but I have that feeling inside like I just despite that way of study when you sit in a classroom falling asleep of boredom. Don't learn anything because of that. My own parents would look down to me and say, look at all those other kids. They are not lazy, they are energetic and active. While you are a vegetable, I'm also smoking weed. But deep down inside I know one day I will get through. I only got through high school and college by copying off others' homework and or cheating on tests. I was rather intelligent, but also incredibly lazy. I just had no interest in anything I was learning in school. Luckily I got a part-time job through a connection from my parents and worked there all through college. I learned some very specific skill sets. I really honed those skills in and quickly excelled at that job. It led me into a career I never intended on being in, but being very niche, very lucrative, and a very easy job. I figured it'd be idiotic to try anything else. So really no education I received in HS or college helped in any way in my career. On-the-job training, luck, plus a brief year or so of busting my butt basically set me on this path. I failed in math and government in my senior year in high school. I work in political finance lol.